Let's do a more complicated serial dilution question. Using the 4th edition textbook on page 102, let's do question number 4. You are given a series of 10 tubes, each of which contains 5 mL of diluent. To the first tube is added 1 ml of serum, and a serial dilution using 1 ml is carried out on the remaining tubes. What is the serum concentration in tube 4 and 8? So first, let's determine what this information means. So when we're adding 1 ml of serum to the first tube, which contains 5 mL of diluent, this means that we're putting a 1 ml serum, which is essentially 100% concentrated, into 5 mL of diluent. So what kind of dilution is this? 1 part of serum and 5 parts of diluent creates a 1 in 6 dilution. Okay. So we know that that is our starting point, is a 1 in 6 dilution. So let's go ahead and see this as a visual representation. Okay, so you can see here that what we've got going is this is our very first tube, and you can see I've made it a dark color to represent how dilution affects the concentration of a sample. So again, we said we added 1 ml of serum to 5 parts of diluent, which creates a 1 in 6 dilution. So this is our most concentrated concentration tube, okay? And when we do a serial dilution going forward using 1 ml remaining on each one, that's still going to create a 1 in 6 dilution. But what that means is we're going to take 1 ml from tube number 1 and we're going to place it into 5 ml of diluent into tube number 2. And so that's going to further dilute that serum from tube number 1. And again, here for tube number 3, same thing. We take 1 ml from here and we place it into tube number 3, which again further dilutes the sample, and so on and so forth. So you can see that color representation wise, as we continue to tube 10, we're getting very small concentrations of the serum contained in our diluent. So, excuse me. So let's answer these questions. What are the concentrations in tubes 4 and 8? Okay, so here we can see that what I've done is tube 4 is what we're looking at, and you can see that that serial dilution that we talked about, 1 in 6, is going to be carried out 4 times, okay? So what does that mean? In mathematical equation, we've got this right here. So 1 in 6 times 1 in 6 times 1 in 6 times 1 in 6 gives us a 1 over 1,296 dilution. If we want to write that as a decimal, we just divide 1 by 1,296, which gives us 0.00077 as a decimal for concentration. Now, if you wanted to make that an easier to write number, you could write it in scientific notation. So 7.7 times 10 to the negative 4, because we've moved it over 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Okay. Or if you wanted to express it as a percentage, you again here would take this decimal right here and multiply it by 100 to then get the answer as a percentage. This question doesn't ask us to specify, but I've shown you here how to write it in different formats. Just be careful that when you are going to write it as scientific notation, that you don't take the percentage and then convert it to a scientific notation. You want to take the actual number itself and convert it into a scientific notation. Okay. So, and again here, what is the serum concentration in tube number 8? So it's the same thing. It's a 1 in 6 or 6-fold dilution carried out 8 times. Okay, which gives us our fraction right here. And again, we could do the same thing and convert it to a decimal or a scientific notation. And then lastly, or as a percentage. All of these are the same answer, just written in different formats. I've made a little note here because we started originally with serum, which is 100%. You could also just write it as percent. That's just my preference, but it's totally up to you.